Some important breaking policy news on immigration tonight. The Trump administration now planning to build tent cities to shelter migrant children, many of whom are isolated or orphaned by Trump's hardline policies. The administration has rolled out policies that separate children from parents who entered the U.S. illegally. Jeff Sessions says that is the right thing to do. Now he's issued executive guidance limiting the asylum that the U.S. traditionally grants to women fleeing abuse and gang violence. Here's Jessica Alvarado from Honduras. She fled there seeking asylum to protect her against threats of violence, domestic abuse, and murder.
Pasó el tiempo y fue cuando él empezó a agarrar la mara, pues andar con los mareros. Él empezó a pegarme mucho.
Cuando yo estaba en Honduras, él ponía drogas en mi mochila y entonces para que yo las dejara ahí en casas, porque para que yo las vendiera.
Si me lo niegan, pues me mandarían directamente para Honduras. Yo sé que él está allá.
Tonight, her lawyer tells The Beat this new Trump policy will directly affect our case. I'm joined now by Democratic Senator for Oregon, Jeff Merkley. He was trying to enter an immigration detention center in Texas last week and was barred by police. That video got a lot of attention. Senator, your view of the significance of these reports of these 10 cities?
Well, it's a horrific situation. For the first time in U.S. history, we're taking those who are fleeing persecution abroad, and instead of treating them respectfully, instead of holding up the torch with Lady Liberty, we're instead saying, if you are fleeing persecution and you wash up on our shores, we're going to treat you as a criminal and take away your children. That has an enormously destructive impact on parents, and it's a huge trauma for the children. Never before have we hurt children in order to influence the parents. It's absolutely wrong thing to do.
Senator, I wonder if we could dig into what Jeff Sessions is saying. He's a former colleague of yours as well as the Attorney General, because we've all heard the legal argument that at a certain point a country can't necessarily let in everyone who might have a good claim. And that's one of the arguments over limits to immigration. What strikes me as different, and I want to take his argument seriously, is the idea that these aren't valid claims to begin with, which seems pretty hard to defend, given that these people seem like the most likely in need of asylum. Take a listen to Attorney General Sessions.
Okay.
Powerful incentives were created for aliens to come here illegally and claim fear of return. In effect, word spread that by asserting this fear, they could remain in the United States. The vast majority of the current asylum claims we're seeing are not valid.
Your view of the substantive argument he's making, that these are invalid claims and that fear of return, which is one of the ways, as you know, people get asylum. They say they would be literally deported back to a place where they might be domestically abused or killed by a gang, that itself should no longer be grounds.
Yes, so the argument he's making that some of the claims are illegitimate, that's determined through an intense review process, a hearing for asylum. And unless you can really document what happened to you beforehand, and you can document the fear of return, you're turned down for asylum, and you're returned, you're deported. But if you're awaiting that asylum hearing, and your claims are found to be valid, it makes a lot of sense for your family to be kept together, to be strengthened as they're new arrivals in the United States. If you're being returned to your host country, if you're going to be deported after that hearing, it again makes sense for the family to have been kept together. Why add insult to injury and hurt these children in the route to sending them back? Keep them together until the hearing. Either they get to stay or they go. But in either case, we haven't perpetrated an additional level of abuse.
What do you think about what is admittedly a smaller issue, which is whether this is a deterrent? There are folks who might not agree with as far as how far these policies go, but think, well, if the United States is sort of too hospitable, then people in these other countries will hear about it and they'll all come rushing here and there'll be greater migration. Do you see any evidence that these crackdowns are actually going to reach and dissuade the kind of people in the kind of situations that they're fleeing from to come here?
Think about this core argument. The argument is if we inflict trauma on children and word can get back to where they came from, other families will not seek to come to the United States. Are we really saying, and by the way, the administration is saying, that they are inflicting trauma on children to influence adults? There is no moral code in the universe that supports being destructive to children to influence the future decisions of other adults. universe. There's no religious code in the universe that supports that type of construction, of abusing children today to influence some other group of adults somewhere else in the world.
When you put it like that, I mean, you're making a profound moral point, which is that for all the talk of allegations that people are, quote unquote, using their children to try to set up shop here, what you're articulating for us is moral opprobrium for the U.S. government trying to turn those children into pawns or individuals, minors who should be punished to warn others, which the way you put it is, I think, instructive and frankly, chilling. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.